What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video. And in this, I want to break down what's going on with the overall market and give you guys a very, very nice hypothetical view about what the market could end up doing in the future and some very interesting looking Fibonacci retracement points the market could be testing in the future and how the market could move to approach this December rally, which is most likely going to come, in my opinion. But before I break into detail all this information, before I get into any more details about this December rally, let me just mention a couple of things. I am firstly not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire community as a whole. Anyways, I want to talk about the chart now. We're gonna go to the daily time frame on SPY, just like this. And you're gonna notice that we have some key resistance levels we're going to be looking at over the next couple of trading days, the next week or so. We're going to be watching that 452 area to see if SPY can try to break this resistance or not. And if we fail to do so, we could get a rejection. If we break it, we could try to fill this gap right now to try to go all the way back up to 456 plus to 457 before we reject. I honestly would not like to see that happen. I would prefer if we just pull back first before we get a final rally. And right off the bat, you could notice that there's a possible situation where you could draw out like an inverse head and shoulders here. This could be like our left shoulder. This could be our head down here, and we could be from just the right shoulder before we come back. That's going to depend on how SPY holds up. So I want to kind of expand on these levels right here. When you look at the hourly time frame, we're going to be watching 448 as critical supports on SPY. If we lose 448, I think that there's going to be a situation where we can start dropping to fill our gap all the way down to this level right here at this 440 area. If we end up seeing that rejection, but we're going to be watched to see if that ends up being the case. Now, if we take the chart like this, right, and let's just assume that we do get this rejection, because one could interpret what we're doing right now, this consolidation, as like a head and shoulders forming. We have this left shoulder here, the head and the right shoulder forming. So maybe there's going to be some downside. But I'm not going to promise that, as it's going to depend heavily on what we see moving forward. So I want to look at this this way. Basically, if we take this Fibonacci retracement tool, we start from this low right here, and we kind of move our way back up. One thing I found very interesting is from the top. I know it's a little hard to see, guys. I'm sorry about that, but the 0.618 retracement happens to be exactly at that 440 area. And then on top of that, not only is that close to our golden pocket, but we happen to have this imbalance down here, very close to this 440, which aligns with our potential gap fill area. So if I pull up the daily chart, you can see we have this big gap down to 440. So that could be a target for a retracement if we do get a very healthy pullback. But the market does have a tendency of seeing some pullbacks during this period. During the second to fourth week of November, during one of those weeks, we tend to see the market pull back a bit before we turn bullish for December. So what am I thinking is very probable to happen is going to depend on what we end up seeing. So if we end up breaking that 452 resistance, right? If we end up getting that breakout, although I find this a little tricky, it's always a possibility. If we do get the breakout, and this is where SPY is right now, you're going to be anticipating another push to the upside, right? We could get one final leg up like this. Let me zoom in a bit just to show you what I'm talking about. We could get a little leg up like this, all the way up to 456, for just a couple of days before we form our top. Then we might get a very healthy retracement towards 440. That would be very ideal. I would like to see this healthy retracement here. And let's assume that that's where this thing bottoms out. If that's the case, and if we do end up seeing that test, we could be forming a slanted, inverse head and shoulders for a very, very nice bounce going into December. And once we approach December, the market just continues to remain very, very bullish, approaching those all-time highs, and we just continue to run for December just like this. So all-time highs, would be closer to that 470 area. That would be a real December rally, and we could see something like this after the healthy retracement. Now, that would be under the assumption that this support right over here is going to hold up, so we can actually draw out this extended trend line. So this kind of aligns very well with that 440 retracement, this white trend line right here. That's where this retracement could be before we get that bounce. And that would be very, very healthy. Now, another possibility would be if we do get the retracements, what if we don't break 452 on SPY? What if we're forming a head and shoulders top and this thing's about to fail? If that's the case, we could, reject from here as we have a very short week ahead of us. We also have Nvidia's earnings on Tuesday. If Nvidia brings the market down hypothetically, right? I'm not promising it. I'm just saying, I'm just breaking these down just to give you guys some visuals about what the market could do. If we turn bearish and lose 448, we might come down to fill this gap back down to 440, which aligns with the golden pocket from a Fibonacci standpoint. And simultaneously, if it takes a couple of days to get there, that could be very close to where this trend line happens to be. And we could still be forming a nice inverse head and shoulders. Now, I also want to call out the possibility of us dropping a little bit lower, and I would love to see that. That would be a very good buying opportunity. So sorry if these lines are kind of small, guys. I'm trying to zoom out of the chart a lot, but basically, maybe we don't stop at 440. 440 could be where this thing retraces to. We could go a little lower and try to fill the gap closer to 430. If we do that, we could form something that's very symmetrical. We could be forming a very symmetrical inverse head and shoulders. So you could see that this right here, and this is what I was referring to earlier, could be like our head. This is the left shoulder, and then this could be the right shoulder that's forming, and then we just continue to rock it for the end of the year in another squeeze. And then this next squeeze right here, it could be just as violent as this one right here, right? Because we basically pumped like 40 points on SPY in just a couple of weeks, right? If we retrace back down to like 430, we could still pump 40 points by the time we get to the end of the year, and that could just take like 4 weeks, for example. So, it's still possible. It sounds crazy, but it still is very possible that something like that could happen. So many people were expecting a crash. There's so many shorts still in the market. We have a lot of puts expiring every week for the next few weeks. So there's always the possibility of us getting another rocket rally like this. This could just be the beginning. And then after we hit these highs going into next year, we could always correct starting 2024. But for now, we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to focus on the move ahead of us. So it all depends on, do we get one more leg up? Do we pump one more time, okay, to fill the gap up to like 456, and then we get the retracement? And if we retrace, I don't know if it's going to be a 430 retracement or just a 441. It's going to be one of those two most likely. And whichever one it is, we'll just be watching our trend line as supports. And then regardless of what happens, regardless of if we retrace to 430, if we retrace to 440, regardless if we get some kind of break and then drop, it does not matter to me, because that does not turn me into a bear. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not going to turn me into a bear. I'm still going to be bullish for the end of the year. I think that what's going to happen is, if we get that 440 retracement, a 430 retracement, this is just another buying opportunity. And we're going to continue to rock it and rally and approach the all-time highs by December, end of December. I think it's still going to happen. And there's going to be another opportunity for the bulls to get the edge. All right. It sounds crazy. I know a lot of people may not believe it, but this market is strong and the bulls are not going to give up easily. I would like to see a very healthy retracement first before we get that final rally, even if it takes like a week or two. And I still believe in the potential in this market. So we're going to find out, before we talk about any retracement or anything like that, if we get one more push up and then the retracement, or if we just retrace from here. That I'm not too sure about. It depends on which way we break on SPY, because for the last couple of trading days, it's been very, very boring, very monotonous, back and forth price action. We're just waiting to see which way we break. And that's going to determine whether or not we get some kind of retracement or not. I would love to see a retracement before the December rally. I think that it is due, because the market pumped very, very hard, and it is due to just pull back a bit in a very healthy manner before we just continue higher. So I would like to see something like that. Let me just call out that if you look at SPY on the daily, it's continuing to pump like crazy, and the RSI is still stuck in this 70 area. Generally, the RSI maxes out between 70 and 77, and then we tend to see this thing retrace. 76 is where it could go to before it retraces as well. So we generally don't see the daily RSI surpass 80. It usually stops between 70 and 76. It's currently at 69. So we'll be watching this very carefully. Do we pump a little bit more and then get that retracement, or does the market retrace from here? We'll be watching this very carefully. We'll be watching the gap down below. So with that said, I want to keep this video kind of simple because I'm going to be talking more about the markets for tomorrow. But that's just like my general view of SPY. So we'll be watching to see once again if we get one more pop or not, or if we just drop from here. Then we approach that 440 area for a very healthy retracement before we continue higher. That's also going to depend heavily on where the buyers step in and if we end up holding this trend line of support, and also what news comes out alongside Nvidia's earnings. So there's so many different factors. This could be a slanted inverse head and shoulder, or it may not be. So we'll just have to wait and see. Either way, like I said before, the December squeeze is likely going to come, and I'm still leaning very bullish for the end of the year. Hopefully, this video was helpful for my visual of how the market could end up moving. All right. So that's what I have for this one, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. Have an absolutely spectacular rest of the day, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks again, and peace out.